Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's project showcase with India Foundation for the Arts. As you know, India Foundation for the Arts is an independent national philanthropy that supports and implements projects across research, practice, and education. In the last 29 years, we've supported 850 projects, leading to a variety of outcomes: films, workshops, exhibitions, publications, artworks, and much more. And from time to time, we share the projects that we implement and the journeys of the artists that we support through project showcases like this. And today we have a very special project showcase that looks at how we engage with our cities and our neighborhoods. Before I hand it over to my colleague Mridupanki Rajkumari, who's the project officer, I'd like to just share a couple of house rules. You're welcome to chat, use the chat box in Zoom to share your comments, to share your feedback to the presenters today. But if you have questions for them, we'd request you to put them in the Q&A box. This event, as you know, is streaming live on Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, leave your questions and comments in the comment box, and we'll bring them up to Zoom. Now, I'd like to invite Mridupanki Rajkumari, Program Officer for Arts Practice and Project 560, to introduce today's event and our speakers for this evening. Over to you, Mridupanki.
Thank you, Menaka. Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to IFA's Project Showcase. Today's showcase is part of the Neighborhoods Engagements category of Project 560, which is a program specifically designed for Bangalore and its residents. In the Neighborhood Engagements category, IFA implements projects that engage with spaces, stories, histories, and people of the neighborhoods in Bangalore. Today's presenters, Chandra Keerthi B and Lakshmi Nagaraj's projects were implemented under this category of Project 560. In their projects, Lakshmi explored the intersection of people's histories in Yelahanka and Yelahanka's relationship with the growing city of Bangalore through a mapping of personal memories of the recent and long-time residents, as well as a remembering of lost establishments of the neighborhood. Chandra Keerthi, on the other hand, engaged with the legacy of Majestic through personal and collective memories and narratives. He braided together personal narratives of broader sociocultural histories, and the project reflected on the transformation of Bangalore and its neighborhoods over time. To share a little bit about our presenters, Chandra Keerthi B is a seasoned theatre practitioner based in Bangalore with over 23 years of experience. He has acted in 37 plays, directed 20 productions, and performed in over 400 shows. One of his career highlights includes directing Caucasian Chalk Circle, which was staged at the prestigious National Theatre Festival Meta in New Delhi. Lakshmi Nagaraj is a self-taught neurodivergent visual artist and art writer based in Bangalore. Her conceptual practice spans painting, assemblage, and installation. Through her work, she challenges capitalist systems by exploring themes of rest, disability, and marginalized experiences, especially in public spaces. So without further ado, I now invite Chandra Keerthi to make his presentation. Thank you. Chandra Keerthi, over to you.
Thank you much, Mridupanki. Hello, everyone. I am Chandra Keerthi, a theatre practitioner from Bangalore. Namaskara. I present before you Namma Majestic Yatre, reprinted a saga of 4 generations. Myself, a performance storyteller, actor, and a theatre practitioner. I'm sure everyone can recognize me. I am Narada, Narayana, Narayana. You might be wondering, what am I doing here? I'm a celestial space man, or maybe in common terms, I can even say I'm like an astronaut who travel between space and time. And I'll be narrating you a beautiful story of Majestic. And this man, Chandra Keerthi, chose Majestic. And I'll be telling you an interesting story about that. Well, you might be wondering why I'm in Bangalore. Well, as I was on my world tour, I got to visit Bangalore. The main reason for it, because there was a recent survey where in the survey, most livable city in India was Bangalore. Yes, you might be really happy to hear this. Bangalore is the most livable city in India. But, well, you need not to clap and be overwhelming about this particular thing, because Bangalore only got 66.7% only. So we no distinction at all. So, and I chose Bangalore as my place, maybe on a short trip. And from July onwards, I'm here in this Namma Bengaluru. Well, on 20th, to be very precise, 20th July, I saw there was this boy called Chandra Keerthi who wore my attire the same way, and he took about 20 people from Lalbagh metro till Majestic, and he roamed around every streets and gullies in Majestic, and he started narrating. I was very curious. Well, I'll hand over the story to Chandra Keerthi himself, and he's already in the same attire. Over to Chandra Keerthi. Thank you, Narada. I dressed up like you, and you're a source of inspiration for me. Well, I straight away come to the point of Namma Majestic Yatre, a wonderful project by IFA, where this project was about our neighborhood. And I, being a Bangalorean, born and brought up here, a Kannadiga, and I lived in two very distinct, iconic places in Bangalore. One was Lalbagh, and then the second one was Majestic. See, my father's side was from Lalbagh, so I have the roots, and also my mother's side is from the Majestic. So that's the reason I started my journey from Lalbagh to Majestic. I would call it rather from the lungs of Bangalore, Lalbagh, to the heart of Bangalore. So now my spot is Majestic, and my pin code is 560009. Any netizens who are looking at this particular presentation, you can quickly get on to the chat box and please mention your name and where you're residing, the present location, and I want your pin codes also, and what is your mother tongue. So whenever you get time, please make sure you fill in this chat box and let's try to understand you belong to which part of Bengaluru. And moving on, we started our journey from the Majestic. So where the Majestic Kempegowda Nildana, what do we call? Once it was a lake called Dharmambudi. Unfortunate reason, it turned out to be the BMTC and KSRTC bus stand. If you just get back in time, you can just look at these pictures where once it was a lake and then it turned into a open field where there was a lot of cattle fairs happening and there used to be circus. And then in 1980s, the government handed over it to KSRTC and BMTC bus stops. So that's how it began. And this journey of Namma Majestic Yatre began on 20th July. And we started from Lalbagh. So there was this Lalbagh, and all of us gathered at Lalbagh. And soon we all gathered. There was one audio performance. The audio performance where a sparrow, yeah, I'm sure Bangalore is missing the sparrow. A sparrow welcomed all the audience. It was a very cute welcome from the sparrow. And soon after, we tried to hear some stories about Lalbagh and quickly hopped on to Namma Metro. Here, the first part of the performance began. Starting from the Lalbagh metro station till the Nada Prabhu Kempegowda, it was about, say, 8 to 10 minutes of time. So, with that duration, there was an audio track which was played, and throughout each stop, like National College, next comes KR Market, and further that Chikpete, and then the Nada Prabhu Kempegowda station. So, the audience here was having a audio narration which was played, and now Kadlekai per se is happening. So even then, when we get on to the National College metro station, there was these memories and nostalgia which is associated with those particular places. So further, we after crossing the 10 minutes audio performance, we landed in Majestic. So here in the Majestic underpass, what you see in the picture. So here I started narrating the history of Kempegowda, how from 1500s till now, how our visionary, our founder of Bengaluru, Nadaprabhu, the Kempegowda, visioned our Bengaluru, what you see today. So there was a brief history about it, and also an interactive session which happened, and we walked through the skywalk, and people followed along. It was like a museum theater where audience also follow. It was like a walk along performance, and here there was some fun interaction. And I'm sure you would all be wondering, in Bengaluru, what I learned was there are two words which runs. Narayana doesn't work here. So in Bengaluru, what works is Swiggy, Zomato, and Zepto, Blinkit, Uber, Ola, BMTC, KSRTC. And then there are two other twin words which people often say, Kannad Gottilla. Most of them just escape saying these two, Kannad Gottilla. So, and this is November month. I'm sure we all are very fond of our language. And this was one particular thing to make them get in love with our language, Kannada. And after this journey, and after knowing the history of how Dharmabudi Lake turned into a BMTC bus stand, and it was time for a short break, and we headed to Priyadarshini. So, where it is about a 40-plus-year-old restaurant in the Gandhinagar area. So, there we got to have some yummy bende murku and also some bisi coffee. So, also we also got to hear some stories about how from Ethiopia we got a coffee, and till the story of filter coffee era. And soon after this, we also jumped into the next stop, the Gubbi Veeranna Rangamandira. Now comes the story. As I already said, it is a generation of four saga. It is reprinted a saga of four generation. Now let me give you a brief about my family story. As my great grandfather, who's Hanumantappa alias Ryan, and his son, that is my grandfather Shashibhushan, he was very keen towards theater and acting, and that's how we landed here. This Gubbi Veeranna company is a place where even now you have multiple shows, matinee show and evening show, which takes place every day, and people go there. So we had to dance and sing for the famous Sadarame Natka's one song, and after that we moved on to Kempegowda Circle. So from Kempegowda Circle, we got to hear some stories about how Kempegowda Circle and the temple which is located there, and we quickly jumped on to Santosh Theatre. And now comes a big question: why do we call this area as Majestic? The reason is none other than the right side image. What you see, once upon a time in about 1920s, there was this theater called Majestic Theater. Because of this Majestic Theater, where all the buses, earlier there was not there was no BMTC, KSRTC, so the buses used to go and give a stop in this particular area in front of Majestic Theater. That's the reason we got this area name as Majestic. Today people do travel here for exchanging their metro stain from green line to the purple line, and they come here. And to catch a bus, they come here. In order to go travel out of station, KSRTC is the stop. And the Bangalore railway station is also present here. And it's also a beautiful shopping hub. And soon after hearing the stories of Bengaluru, Kempegowda, and sipping a cup of coffee, we landed in Balepete. That is my ancestral home, where about 24 of my family relatives lived in this place, Balepete 560053. And this is the memory what I have in my veins. So let me introduce quickly my great grandparents, Hanumantrayappa, and we have Rajamma, my great grandmother, and below that is my grandfather Shashibhushan and my grandmother Pushpa. My great grandfather, he was he visioned where he was working for the British, and he was a government servant then. And then because of his friends, he got inspired to start his own printing press. And the name of that printing press is Printing Press. In the same area, he shifted where it was an office come a place where our residents also stick printing press for a very long time.
Looks like Chandra Keerthi has dropped off. Just give us a few minutes. I'm sure he will join back again. Welcome back, Chandra.
Yeah. So there was some glitch. I was not aware of that.
So you were talking about your grandfather's printing press. That's when we lost you. So you
Okay,
can
sure.
start from there.
Sure, I'll do that. Just a second. Well, as I was talking about my great grandfather who started this majestic print press, and further it moved on to my grandfather Shashibhushan. He got to run this, and as he was interested in theater and cinema, he started a very interesting tabloid called Cinema. It was a cinema tabloid, which was a monthly magazine, and the image and the video what you see here is a 3D model of my home, what you've just see, and it is abandoned now. And this video was done, edited by my cousin Bindu, who's an interior designer. And this speciality of this house is there were 24 people who lived in this particular place, and it was a office come home. And there are a lot of stories of my childhood which is associated here. Here, this what you see, for 24 people there was only one bathroom, and this particular veranda where the entrance is, where there was the cutting machine of the printing press, where all the jellies, the residues of these papers which are being cut was all in the hall. We children used to play with those things, and it was like a ocean filled with these papers. And my grandmother and my aunts were all part of this kitchen. And there are a lot of such memories which are associated part of this wonderful house. And there was one TV, and we used to wait to watch. And there was a teak wood stairs, what you are seeing right away. And this particular had 3 rooms, and we had got to learn how to stay with those huge joint family. And my aunt used to stay here, and she was a very big fan of a film star. And here comes the balcony entry, where I used to learn on this red thing what you see. I used to scribble, and before exams I used to scribble and learn a lot of things, and had a beautiful balcony. And there was a thief once entered this house. And that's the reason the corner towards the left side, it is called Kalla Banda room. We never had the guts to enter that room as we were all small children. So on that particular day where we all gathered in this 40-year-old house, and we had a lot of nostalgic feeling, and from there we got to move out of that house. As we stayed for about 40 years, all my ancestors lived there, and for some unfortunate reason we were supposed to vacate that. And my uncle Nanda, he now continues this business. And also the fourth generation Gautam, my cousin, he's also taking over this majestic printing press, which is right about 500 meters away from the old house, what you see. And this, even till now, they have these government ledgers which are being sold to all the panchayat houses. And the unfortunate thing is, recently, about 1.5 months back, this house, what you see, was demolished. And it is more of a very, very emotional feeling, where we stayed in this house, we had a lot of memories shared, and now it is just part of our memory. The house is demolished, and it is an empty space now. And in this space, maybe in few years from now, this space will turn out to be a lodge. So these are those changing scenarios. I, being a Bangalorean who stayed in Lalbagh and in Majestic and in many other places, but these two places, especially Majestic and Lalbagh, is very close to my heart. And I really hoping that once this so-called lodge is constructed, I wish I gonna pay to the room and stay one night in this space and recollect all my memories, what I had spent. So such a beautiful memory. And this was me almost about 30 years back, whereas I was playing in the same street where now this is an empty ground. So a lot of memories, a lot of nostalgic feeling is even now rushing in my head while I'm narrating this beautiful story. So I really need to congratulate and to not congratulate, to thank IFA for giving me this opportunity to come up with this performance oriented project 560, where it was a performance and also a storytelling and also a walkthrough where audience were coming along with me and they saw the places. It was also an experiential and also a sensorial experience for all the audience, who got to see, who got to eat, who got to sense every bit of the place. And this was a wonderful journey for me as an actor, as a storyteller. And I wholeheartedly thank the entire team of IFA for giving me this opportunity. And if you really want to experience this on the coming 24th December from 10 a.m. till the 12:30 p.m. starting from Lal Bagh to Majestic, we have this one more yatra which is going on. So if you are really interested to take part in this, so kindly register and share. We'll be sharing a QR link soon after the session. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to my story. And in the Q&A session, I'm sure I will be opening up with more other questions and answers. Thank you so much. Over to Mrudupanki.
Thank you, Chandra Keerthi, for this lovely presentation. I now invite Lakshmi Nagaraj to come and give her presentation. Lakshmi, over to you.
Hi everyone, I am Lakshmi. I am a visual artist based in Bangalore, and I'm so happy to have all of you here to talk about my project, Mapping Memories, The Lost Spaces of Yelahanka. I'm just going to start sharing my screen now. Um, is it visible to everybody?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So before I start the session, I would like to ask all of you, when you think about Bangalore, when I say the words Bangalore culture, what are the spaces that come to mind? I mean, spaces like public spaces, restaurants, parks. Can you just put them in the chat box first? Okay, I'm seeing Vidyarthi Bhavan, Rangashankara, Town Hall, Ravindra Kalakshetra, Kabun Park, MG Road. Um, you can still see my screen? Can all of you still see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, uh, while all of your answers are very much representations of Bangalore, it is just a part of Bangalore, and this is where my project started. These spaces that you named, and in addition, I have written down some like CTR, Blossoms, Bobs, uh, which is for the newer generation, I guess, Lal Bagh, all of them. I wanted to capture spaces beyond this singular narrative, beyond this exclusive narrative of what is Bangalore beyond these spaces that are mentioned in popular culture. Uh, I came from a place of living in Yelahanka, Newtown myself, and for me, while growing up and even now, Bangalore doesn't look just like all these spaces, right? Uh, for me, Bangalore culture and what the Bangalore I know is so different. So I wanted to see what are the spaces that are known to fewer people. Are they still worth remembering? uh, are they less significant because they are known to lesser people? And this is how I started my project, Mapping Memories. Uh, Mapping Memories is a community engagement project where I engaged 32 residents of Yelahanka to understand what are the spaces that they remember and what are the spaces that are something special to them. I wanted to capture these spaces and turn it into art, but not from a very not from a very objective point of view of how they looked or how they functioned, but rather in a subjective way of how people remembered them, what their experiences were, because I think these spaces are only what the people who occupy them make of them. So I had two objectives starting out. One, like I said, was to turn all of these spaces into art and etch these into collective memory so that they are not forgotten and completely lost to time and wiped from memory. But the second one was to simply give residents a space, a platform to engage with their own memories of Yelahanka, to think about their own public lives that they have spent in Yelahanka and critically and consciously engage with the neighborhood. So I wanted to see how can we prevent the little spaces from being erased from collective memory. Here, I what I mean by collective memory is not one definition where it's a memory of a collective where there is one narrative of one space, but rather the many different memories that are related to one space. So they are memories of members of a collective. I went about this by doing mapping sessions with the residents. Like I said, I engaged with 32 residents across various groups of caste, class, age, religion, gender, sexual identity, and disability. Each session was devised to be around 30 to 40 minutes, but some went on for much longer as the participants started speaking about their memories. The sessions were divided into two parts. The first part was very participant oriented. Here, I wanted to engage them in a conversation where they would remember the spots in Yelahanka that mean something to them or that meant something to them that don't exist anymore. And as they started speaking about it, I encouraged them to mark these on a map. So, this one is an example of one participant's map where she has used sticker stars to mark the spaces that mean something to her and written things and drawn things. So, this became an individual memory map where this was a memory map of the participants' own public life in Yalahanka. Uh, I also encouraged participants to stick keepsakes that they may have saved in relation to these spaces. So here, this participant, for example, has shared a bus ticket and a small stone and a part of a Coke can. So these were all things that she saved in order to remember memories that happened in particular spaces. This methodology was very important to me because it is reminiscent of my larger practice where I incorporate my own keepsakes into my art because I feel that interacting with them physically, holding them, brings me closer to my memories, solidifies them even more in my head, and this tangible nature of it makes my memories clearer. So I wanted to extend this process to this project. The second part was a focused question, which was asking them to describe their own memory, describe their memory in one space that doesn't exist anymore. This was done so that I could listen to their experience, to their memories, and draw from that and create a pieces of art which would finally be a part of a installation. I also encourage participants to draw their own memories of these public spaces. While some of them were hesitant at first, I think once I pushed them a little bit, a lot of them ended up drawing beautiful, fun drawings of their memories, some of which are displayed here. Uh, so after this phase of the mapping sessions, the challenge was to take these stories and translate them into an art in a way where uh, these stories I did justice to these stories. So from the beginning, I had this idea of a large scale map of Yalahanka, like you can see here. This was going to be the public installation, and on top of these would be the paintings that I created of the spaces, and all of them would come in the corresponding spaces on the corresponding locations on the map. In order to achieve this, I went through a lot of artistic experimentation. I wanted to honor the participants' stories and uh, paint true representations of them while also pushing my own artistic boundaries. I wanted to use different translucent materials for this as a canvas because I had this idea of juxtaposing the past and the present. So while the past would be painted on a canvas that was translucent, below that would come a photograph of the same spot as it exists today. So you could actually see the photograph of the present through the past canvas. So the translucency of the materials was very important because of this reason. As the project developed, I wanted to uh, bring some sort of cohesion to these paintings. Initially, I wanted all of them to be unique, to have their own materials and mediums, all of those that I experimented with, like glass, different types of papers and plastics, tool, foam, bubble wrap, all of those. But as I progressed, I ended up choosing tracing paper as my main canvas. But I also wanted to go a step further and develop a visual technique, a visual language that was just that was beyond just using the same materials or mediums. I wanted all of the paintings to act in a certain way, which was similar, so that they would all be unified within the larger installation. Finally, the visual technique I devised was the technique of layering. So I decided that each painting was going to have at least two layers or more, and the painting would be spread across these layers. So the painting would come together only when the layers were stacked on top of each other. This was a way of this was a metaphor for memory, where memory is fragmented and always evolving, but more importantly it's accumulated over time. And some parts of your memory you can see more clearly, some are hidden behind some layers and veils. uh, it was also a way to get audiences at the public installation to interact with the paintings. I wanted them to flip through the sheets to get a clearer image as they go through it. And it was also important for me for them to touch the paintings and hold these memories in their hands, because I felt like this tactile way of interacting with it, where they could touch it with their fingers, gave it a more personal level. Where again, speaking about my larger practice, where I feel like this actually connects you to your memories better, I felt like them holding these paintings would connect them to memories of a person they don't even know. So these are some examples of the paintings I created. Like you can see, in each painting, some parts are a little more blurry and little more softened than the others. This is because each painting exists in a layer. So I'll just show you one example of that. Before that, I'm going to play a small voice recording to give you a idea about how I created these paintings. So this is a voice recording from one of the sessions where a woman described a place that used to exist and doesn't exist anymore.
ಇದು ಎಸ್ಕಟ್ ಒಂದೇನೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ ಎಸ್ಕಟ್ ತಾಪ ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದು ಬೆಂಕಿ ಪಟ್ಟಣ ತಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಬೆಟ್ಟಿ ಅಂಗಡಿ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಇಷ್ಟು ಇರೋದು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಯಾರೋ ಒಂದು ಹೆಂಗಸ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡೋದು.
Were you all able to hear the recording?
Yes.
So, for those of you who don't understand Kannada, the woman was saying that there used to be this escorts, which is basically a factory in Yelahanka, and in front of that would be a petty shop where she would buy matchsticks, and a woman would be sitting there to sell the matchsticks. So, I this is just a 10-second recording of from which I made the painting. So, this was the first layer of the painting representing the factory. This is the second layer stacked on top of the first one, and this is finally the third layer. So, this is how the painting looked, and you had to flip through the layers to get a sense of it. Even though you could see the whole picture, it was softened and kind of invited the audiences to look through it. Like I mentioned before, I also wanted to juxtapose the past and the present. So I took a photograph of the same spot as it stands today. So as you can see, the factory is still there. You can see a lot of greenery, but the name that says that Tenneco is still the factory, and you can see the metro construction. So this became the last layer of the painting, and it looked something like this. So you could see the past through, you could see the present through the past. Finally, this is how the public installation looked, where all of these paintings were layered on the map. I ended up creating 25, 24 paintings. Some paintings held memories from by different people. It was also very important for me for the community engagement, the public engagement to continue even at the event. I wanted to create an accessible and inclusive environment. So the venue that was chosen was a parking lot in front of a government office. There were no barriers, there was no gate, and it was accessible to everybody, despite social classes. And this was a very deliberate choice that I made in order to include the community of Yelahanka as much as possible. These are some photographs um, from the event. Here, this woman you see is actually the same person who spoke in the clip about the factory that used to exist and the petty shop that used to exist in front of that. So while I did expect some level of public engagement at the installation, at the event, uh, I think it exceeded my expectations, because not only did people engage with the memories and with the paintings and the installation as a whole, they also started speaking amongst themselves about their memories of the spaces, and these were complete strangers. So as they exchange stories, this again added another layer to the collective memory that I've been talking about. So this added layer of public engagement was something very special. These two pictures that you see are two other stations that were there at the venue. This one is all the individual memory maps of the participants displayed. Under that were also the drawings. We also had a station where people could draw their own memories if they felt that their memories or spaces that they remember have not been represented in this installation. They could draw their own memories. They could also build a painting on their own, which was basically like all the paintings that I had created had copies of all the layers, and they could mix and match the layers and build their own painting. So this is a picture I really like of one of the carpenters actually who worked on this installation, looking at the installation. But yes, this gives a full picture of how the installation looked. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Lakshmi, uh, for such a wonderful presentation. So engaging, and it was lovely to witness this online as well. I actually have questions for both you and Chandra Keerthi. Um, but I was just wondering how both of your projects spoke so much about memory, both personal and collective, and how kind of memories are fragmented, and then they are layered, and they're never homogeneous. Like in case of you, Lakshmi, when you were talking to people about the same space, how so many different narratives came out of those interactions, right? Of the same Yalahanka Newtown space. And Chandrakirti, your work, I mean, it's so personal, and you spoke to with all of your relatives, you spoke to your parents and your cousins and your uncles and aunts who lived in that space in Majestic and in Belepete, and how their memories were you kind of brought in and built on their memories to create your performance. So it was quite interesting. It was lovely to be actually able to be part of them. I mean, in person as well, and now today online. So my first question, Chandrakirti, to you would be, I understand that your project was very personal because it was about the Majestic Printing Press and your four generations of people who lived there, right? Uh, but you also kind of, while mapping the whole journey during the performance from Lal Bagh till Majestic, you kind of introduced all the people who were accompanying you in that journey through, and you introduced us to those spots, those places, and the historical relevance of those spaces. So I was wondering, during your field work, during the time when you were, preparing to uh, preparing for this performance, for this walk, Did you speak to other people as well, like other residents of these spaces? And if you did, what were their reactions? What were their comments about the changes or the changing spaces around them and the changing neighborhoods of Bangalore? Did they, what was their experience like?
Okay, well, the first day I remember when I was supposed to start my research on this project. For some unfortunate reason, my cousin was not well, and I was supposed to visit his house in Lal Bagh, so where my grandmother lived. So I was supposed to quickly go meet him. He had some heart-related issues, and I quickly met him, and I was on a rush to catch a metro from Lal Bagh to Majestic. So this was one thing, and my aunt asked, why are you in a hurry and what are you doing? I said I'm working on a project, and it's all about my grandfather and things like that. So suddenly, the lot of memories. What she shared with me was like, because the place where my father lived in Mawali, it has totally changed, because 30, 35 years back, the place, what only our house was the only first floor building, and now we go there, it is all like multi-storied buildings, and you have no old residents who are staying there. You all feel you're alienated from the place where you lived. And I'm sure I'm not too emotional or impractical that yes, people need to come, and it's a cosmopolitan place. But for me, losing those charm of my place where once it was a playground, now it is no more. And further, when I hopped on to Majestic, I unfortunately couldn't meet most of them because it's a commercial hub, and most of them have already left the place in search of some other jobs. My best friend Dilip, he's no more there, and only person who was there with my memories associated was the person who stayed right opposite to our house, and his particular shop, he sells threads, so for stitching. So only he was the person who got to meet, and apart from that, none of them. And what I interacted on that whole research was to the places where I lived. But fortunately, those places are still the same. Most of them, about 70%, I can say, is still the same. The ground, the temples there, the streets, roads. I could only connect to the materialistic things what I got to see. But in terms of your question, individuals or maybe neighborhood, very few. And during the performance, as there was this music and thing where we were all 20 plus people there, and you also got to see one person who was a tailor, who unexpectedly appeared, and he was wearing my grandfather's attire, like that typical coat, and
Safari
he a
suit. Yes.
safari suit, and he came, hey, I stitched your grandfather's suit. And fortunately, the suit color also went to his safari suit, so he came in. So it was a very great feeling for me to meet random people there. But unfortunately, none of my neighbors are still there in Majestic, apart from one, and the one whom the tailor whom we met on the show day. That's it.
Right, right. No, thank you. No, I understand. I mean, as someone who has migrated to Bangalore myself, I know that I am actually someone who would be causing a change, right? Who is kind of
Yeah.
a part of this change. But then that's how a space change develop, and it also holds memory in it, you know. But it was quite an interesting journey that you took us through in this presentation, and I hope that you do more yatres like this in future. Yeah, my next question actually is to Lakshmi, and it's more of a comment, Lakshmi, and than a question, I think. Um, you very consciously chose the people that you were talking to, because I remember you took out several ads to call people, like call for people to come and talk to you, and you mentioned in your presentation as well that you were looking at people from across class, caste, gender, and disability, and all the different layers in a society, layers of people that live in a society. So my question is, did you find, so among those 32 people that you were talking to, what was the difference in their memories, the way they shared, or the spaces that they shared? Did you see something which was visibly different? Because since you were interacting with people very carefully, and you kind of opened it out to in a way that this is not for a certain class or certain type of people. So was there something that you saw in their narratives or in the stories that they were sharing?
Yes, definitely. There were so many differences and also some similarities. I could see that uh, people from disadvantaged classes didn't even have time to rest. So therefore, they didn't have a lot of memories to share from these public spaces because they were always working. I could also see that the some people from disadvantaged castes had very different stories of like different memories of spaces. For example, one person had a memory of going to a meat shop with their mother, and that wouldn't be a story that a person like from an upper caste background would have, or it would even be taboo in that sense. But there were also stories that were very similar. One story that I especially liked was of two siblings. I interviewed both of them separately, and they were completely different sessions. But when I asked them about one space that they think of fondly, which doesn't exist anymore, they both spoke about an empty plot that used to exist in their near their house. And this was a very interesting intersection of collective memory for me, because neither of them mentioned the other. Neither of them said that, I used to play with my sibling there. But it was so interesting how they had the same memories. I could also see a lot of difference between people of different genders. I could see that men spoke about spending time with their friends, whereas women spoke about temples. Or there was one instance where both the husband and wife spoke about one hotel called Sharavati Hotel, which is very famous in Yelahanka. And the husband spoke about how he used to hang out there with his friends and chit chat and just pass time. Whereas the wife also mentioned the same space, but she said that they used to go there with their family for dinners, which included their in-laws. So you can see the difference between how people engage with their neighborhoods, how they relate to their social standing and their social responsibilities and roles. And I made this conscious choice because uh, I wanted to capture all the different narratives and not just one singular narrative of one religion or one gender or one caste or class. So yes, to answer your question in short, I did see a lot of differences.
Right, right. Thank you. We actually have a question. I think both of you can answer. I'll just read it out to you. Change in a neighborhood is inevitable, and as I'm sure we all agree, what, in your opinion, can we possibly do in small ways to retain some culture and fight the homogeneity that current urbanization seem to be bringing with it? Or are we up against forces much bigger and stronger? This question is from Amshula. Yeah, any of you can kind of answer.
I think that we need to center community, and only when we do that can we have spaces of community and community rest. Uh, One space that I really like the idea of, which has been disappearing, is the Somberi Katte in Bangalore. Somberi Katte, for those of you who don't know, is basically just a platform around a banyan tree. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's a banyan tree, right?
Alimara.
Uh, Yeah, so where people just sit and chit chat and just pass time, right? And these spaces where you really sit and do nothing are disappearing, and I feel like the power lies in community, and when we make a conscious effort to engage with our community and keep keep meeting with each other, I think these spaces can really be saved.
Well, adding to Lakshmi, where in Majestic you have the world famous Karga, which happens, yeah, from Dharmara and Gudi. So it was like a ritual for us, where the whole night we wait for this Karga to come. It happens right in the old house where I lived. So it we after vacating from Majestic, we never had the chance to again go back, because you need to wait for a long time. So because of this project, the whole family, all my aunts and cousins, all went there, starting from 8 o'clock in the morning. And the world famous Bengaluru Karga still have its charm, and we all need to go hunt for a place to sit from 8, and the Karga will come at around in the midnight, around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. What do you do till then? Chit chat. You eat something. Kadle puri comes, and one after the other things comes. You get to meet some old friends there. We somehow encountered such things. I'm sure in Bangalore, these cultural things, which is historical in this sense, and also cultural value, also it has. That is one. And second one, yesterday I just been to Kadlekai per se. So this Hanuman Nagar Kadlekai per se is again a charming ritual every year, which takes place for more than 3 4 days. And I again got to meet people. So that is where you get to interact with these kind of festivals, which are historical, which is cultural, social. It is a combination of all. I think Bangalore still has it, but when you talk about the places like Whitefield, Marathalli, the North Bangalore, so somehow it is losing some kind of a disconnect. So maybe the South Bangalore, Baswangudi, Gandhi Bazaar, these Nagar. So it is more of so-called the local Bangaloreans still live there. Maybe there should be some kind of a dialogue which need to happen between Bangalore's. Whenever people come from the North Bangalore to watch a play in Rangashankara, they all have a complaint. We can't travel a long distance. We need to have something in common in the other places. Maybe some kind of a thing. So that's the reason I came up with this particular thing called theater at your doorstep, where I go to people and tell stories. So this was one concept from there to take people travel to places where they belong to. So maybe this is my answer to this question, maybe in a different way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chandra Keerthi. Thank you, Lakshmi. We have another question. Um, so this is from an anonymous attendee, and they say to both the panelists, how do you see your project going forward and shared with more people beyond your neighborhoods, such that it brings curious and interested people to explore the two neighborhoods? Yeah. Lakshmi, would you like to take that? Or Chandra Keerthi, whoever.
And more people. The limitation of the performance usually is like very limited set of audience. Especially theater has class audience, and such yatras need a lot of time. And as this project happened, we need a lot of police permissions and other things traveling. So I'm sure more such shows we will definitely plan. As it is a theater medium, I really don't wish to do more such onlines or record it and post it on YouTube. Rather, I need to have a live thing. Maybe I'll try to do a couple of shows, is what I can promise for.
Yeah.
I would like to expand this project as much as possible, uh, provided I have the resources. I would like to make more paintings of spaces that mean a lot to people, but more importantly, I would like to pass on this technique, both of memory mapping and painting and layering, maybe through workshops, so that people can, by themselves, engage with their neighborhood, with their memories, and just sit with their memories and consciously think about how they spend their time, where they spend their time, and I would also like to teach people and pass on this method of layering so that people can make paintings of their own and engage in this method of turning memories into art, because I feel that no space, no matter how small or lesser known, deserves to be forgotten. And by people creating their own paintings of the smallest of spaces, like a tiny tea shop, let's say, or a small chart stall, I think they can help them live on in history. So really, I would, as much as I would like to do it myself, I would also like for everybody to do it by themselves.
Thank you. Thank you, Lakshmi. There Okay, Amshula, who asked a question before, says that I would love to do this in our neighborhood. So, how best to reach you, Lakshmi? I think this is wonderful. We have very positive responses, I feel. But before we move forward, I think we don't have a lot of time. I would actually request my colleague Radhika to share the Chandra Keerthi's poster, and also Lakshmi has today released a video about the whole process of her project. So I would request Radhika to first show Chandrakirti's poster and then also show Lakshmi's video to our audience.
Yeah, sure, madam.
Yeah, this is a poster for his next walk. So whoever is in Bangalore and interested to join, you can scan the code and register for this. We'll also share both Chandrakirti and Lakshmi's Instagram and other social media handles on the chat box. So you can follow them and interact with them.
Yes, in a while I'll share the video.
Yeah, sure, Radhika.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
If a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? What about a space that once existed and doesn't anymore? If we all collectively forgot about it, did it even exist? I am Lakshmi Nagaraj, and this is Mapping Memories, the Lost Spaces of Yelahanka. Mapping Memories is a community engagement project that documents spaces and establishments of Yelahanka Newtown that no longer exist, captured solely through residents' memories. I worked with 32 residents representing diverse identities across caste, class, religion, gender, sexual identity, and ability. Through guided memory mapping sessions, participants engaged with their memories, pinpointing spaces of joy on small maps of Yelahanka by writing, drawing, and adding personal keepsakes. They also shared memories of one place that no longer exists, which I translated into 24 paintings depicting these lost spaces. These pieces were then integrated into a large-scale map of Yelahanka, layering the community's collective memories onto the changing landscape. The resulting public installation showcased this collective memory map, a visual representation of the public lives of Yelahanka New Town's residents. Each painting featured translucent layers, inviting visitors to flip through and interact with the installation. Essentially, this project serves as both a nostalgic reflection of Yelahanka New Town and a critical exploration of collective memory, questioning who gets to occupy and remember these public spaces.
That was beautiful, Lakshmi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't have any more questions, and I think we have also reached our time limit. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, Chandra Keerthi, for the wonderful presentations today. And thank you for reminding us how beautiful our neighborhoods are, and how through community engagements, through just talking to our own family members, we can find out and remember things from our past which no longer exist. It was wonderful to walk down the memory lane with you guys, and I would also like to thank all our audience present today. Thank you very much for joining. You can follow us on all our social media handles and also on the IFA website for more updates on such project showcases. And good evening and good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.